Hi, I'm Lisa from SquareOne Training. Welcome to this session. This is Excel shortcuts. It's an intermediate sort of level to advanced. I'm going to look at analysing data and show you some shortcuts and tips along the way to format, highlight, and just make your life easier. So I'm going to move to an Excel file that I have already. And the information I have within this file, let's close that down for you. So the information I have in the file is just raw data that has been imported in that I kind of want to tidy up. First of all, making columns wider. Most people know how to do this. If you want the entire spreadsheet to go to best fit, you've got two choices. You've got the standard way, which is moving between the A and the 1, which is highlight the entire spreadsheet. Alternately, if you are anywhere within a spreadsheet on a blank column, nothing special above it, Control A on the keyboard is another great way. That will highlight the entire spreadsheet for you. You can then double click on any column, doesn't matter which one, and it will widen what we call best fit for you automatically. If you're on the live data and you do Control A, then it will only highlight the active data. But again, that's fabulous if you wanted to copy that, etc. If I want to navigate to the end of the data, you basically put your cursor in the column, you do Control and down arrow, and Control and down arrow is going to take you to the bottom of the data. So you can see we've got 899 rows. Control and up arrow is going to take you to the top. If you want to highlight that information, Control, Shift and down arrow is the magic highlight button to quickly highlight for you. So that's Control, Shift and down arrow to do that. Okay, let's go to the top of the spreadsheet. Now, going to the top in any Microsoft package, Control and Home is take me to the top. Control and End on the keyboard is take me to the bottom. But you can also navigate here. This is called a name box. So clicking there, typing A1 in, or any cell you want to go to, pressing enter is going to take you there very, very quickly as well. Okay, so the data I have doesn't look very good with the dates. Now I can see that they are not formatted as dates, and I've got a few clues. First of all, I'm looking here, this says the word general. I'd expect that to say the word date or short date or whatever it might be, but not general. The second clue that I'm looking at is very important, which is here. I can see that that text has gone to the left, and I'm going to say it's text because it is, because text goes to the left and numbers go to the right. So I know immediately that's not formatted correctly because no one's pushed those in. So you're going to highlight the column. To highlight the column, you can click onto the column or Control Spacebar. And once you've highlighted the column, you do Control F, and Control F is find. Because what you want to do is you want to find a dot and you want to replace that dot with a slash, which is the correct format. So where it says find what, we're going to put a dot in and we're going to say replace it with a slash. Place all. It's going to make your changes, make you aware how many there are, press OK and close. Formatted. Make sure if you're using that feature, you always highlight just the area that you want to change. Otherwise, you could mess these up. So that's anywhere in the data. I did Control Spacebar to highlight, and then obviously Control F to find and replace. This part of the data, not happy with, and the reason I'm not happy with it is I would never be able to sort that data in alphabetical order of surname. We need to get that out. So we need the first name in one column, the surname in another. So I'm going to insert 2 columns to the right of here, but it can go anywhere. And to do that, I'm going to highlight the 2 columns, and then you can either do this on the keyboard, which is Control, Shift, and equals. So Control, Shift, and equals will put in new columns for you, or you can right-click, insert the way you normally do. Okay, so first name is going in there, surname is going in here. Okay. In previous versions of Excel, many years ago, they brought out something called text to columns. It sits on the data tab and is fantastic. It allows you to split one column of information into several. And it does that by looking for delimiters, which are things like spaces, commas, tabs, or a measurement. With the later versions of Excel, which is what I'm going to show you, is Flash Fill. Now, Flash Fill is just fantastic. It reads your data and does clever analysis with it. So it allows you to merge cells together, and you can also split cells. So in here, I'm going to write Tina, and I'm going to write Charles in there. Okay. And I've written that because that basically matches the data that is in that cell. If I click onto Tina, I want that to be copied all the way down. And to do that, I personally don't drag, I double click the corner. Also with formulas, I do that. I double click, that goes all the way down. So basically 900 rows. And then it will repeat Tina all the way down. And that's called autofill. So it thinks I want Tina repetitively. And then to change that, if I click onto it and I choose Flash Fill. So that's called the autofill features. It will always come up and you click on it and change it. Same with Charles. If I click there, I double click, you see it repeats it. I see the Flash Fill, autofill options here. I click it and I say Flash Fill. Perfect. So I have split that information without doing data text to columns. So I hope you like that one. Okay, next thing that we're going to look at is we're going to look at how I do formulas without pressing enter. So I'm going to insert a new column here. So again, Control, Shift, and equals. And I'm just going to write the word total in there. And what I would like to do is I'd like to take that quantity that's in C2 and I'd like to multiply it by the quantity or the value in E2. I'm going to do equals on the keyboard, click onto that quantity and then times it, which is Shift and 8 on the keyboard. I'm then going to click onto E2. And they're the 2 cells that I'm going to calculate to. And most people would press enter now to finish the formula. Now that is fabulous, it works great, but when you press enter, you end up being in the cell below and you have to click back to copy the formula. It takes some getting used to, especially if you're not used to this, But for years, I've been finishing my formulas like this: equals the quantity times the value. I've been using Control Enter. So Control Enter is leave me on the cell so that I can then double click and it will work the formulas out. So I hope you like that one as well. To format these two columns, you can highlight them. So if I highlight, say, that cell and that cell even, Control Spacebar, I can then go to my Home tab and I can do all of the currency formulas straight on here, which is on the drop down. You've also got format cells on the pins. You've also got Control 1 on the keyboard. So many ways of doing it. I don't right click format cells anymore. I tend to do it straight away off here if I can. Okay, you've got some slashes going on, which means the columns aren't wide enough. So if I just click and drag the columns to make them the same size, done, and it's perfect. So we split our information, and now we want to do some clever analysis on this information. In Excel, they created tables many years ago. Lots of people never even heard of them, but they are the power of Excel. When you create tables, you can then use pivot tables and filters and all sorts of clever things with your data, especially when they're long lists. To do a table, you have to make sure that every column has a heading, and you basically press Control T when you're inside that data. It will then highlight the range of data that it thinks that you would like. And if it's correct, you make sure you have My Table Has Headers ticked, and it should be, and you press OK. So that creates the table effect. You'll know you're in one because your ribbon changes to Table Tools. If I click away from that, it's disappeared because I'm not in a table. But the minute I'm back in, up comes the features. You can then change the colors. If obviously, let me move me out the way. If the colors are not what you were after, you can go to the down arrow and you can put it the way that you had when you first started the data. Okay, so I'm happy with that. It's in a table. So by creating the table, it did all sorts of magic things. It actually created freeze panes across the top. So the headings are there without me doing it. Okay, that's one thing it did. The other thing it did was it put on filters. Okay, the magic filters. And don't forget that filters are fantastic things, and you've got date filters. And when you set up filters and you start using them, always make sure they're saying what you expect them to say. I know again that this is formatted correctly as a date because I suddenly get date filters come up, and there's amazing features in there to play with as well. So the table has been created. If I want to analyze and know what this adds up, we can add table rows. By clicking this, it will then generate a total at the bottom, which is dynamic. So every time I add new rows, it will recalculate. So I can click here, for instance, in value, and I can say, do me a favor on the down arrow, add those up. These, same thing, I can click on those and again ask those to add up. And it's dynamic There's 898. I can get rid of that. Don't need that. So you can have totals at the bottom of your data again. And when you're inside the table, by going to the end of the table, so I'm here on South, I can press Tab and it automatically generates a new row of data. I can start to put a quantity in, a price in, and it's absolutely fantastic because the formula will grow with you. Okay, I'm just going to delete that row of data for now. Okay, so I'm going to go to A1, use my shortcut. So my data is here, it's inside a table. And when you have a table created, all the sorts of shortcuts that you probably use filters, I would imagine. However, when a table's created, you can actually ask for a wonderful feature called Insert Slicer. This came out in the 2013 version. May have been 10, but I think it's 13, but give it a go. And if you go Insert Slicer, you can come along and say, I want to analyze my sales team, my areas. So you're ticking the things that you're interested in looking at and pressing OK. That's going to then generate these amazing, amazing little fantastic, I love them. They're called slicers. And I can in seconds say, I want to analyze everything in the north. So I've got 63 records in the north that have chocolate. There you go, 33 of those now. And if I hold down my control key and choose hot dogs, let go, it will tell me straight away at the bottom there's 43 in the north that have those criteria. Absolutely fantastic. To get your data back, I have created a button up here which is called Clear, which I've always had in my filters, which will bring all your data back at once. Let me show you how I've added that. Let's just do some filters a second. To add that button, it's on the Home tab. It's in Sort and Filter, which is here, and it's called Clear. So what I've done is I've right-clicked there and I've gone Add to the Quick Access toolbar, which is why it's up there. Okay, so it resets your data, and that's got nothing to do with slicers. You can use that whenever you want, and I suggest that you add it because it's going to save you time. I've got my wonderful, wonderful data, and we're going to quickly create a pivot table as a shortcut for you. We're going to do a pivot table, and then we're going to finish with creating a chart. So my data is here. We're going to go Insert, Pivot Table. It's going to call it a table 1 because that's the name of the table. So as you create more and more tables, they named there. I would like it on a new worksheet, so I'm going to press OK. And then in seconds, I'm going to say to the data, OK, let's do it by item. Tell me how many orders I've had for each item. So I'm just going to click that and I'm going to drag that to values. You can use the same ones more than once. So I'm just going to drag that, drop that in values, and in seconds, that's going to tell me I've got that amount of orders, and each of these items, that's how many orders I've got of each. If I then want to know what orders there are based on area, I can click that, and it's going to then give me the breakdown of the product and the area. I can swap that around if that's not what I want to analyze. You just simply drag those around. With pivot tables, I could go on forever. I could do a whole session just on this one subject. It's very, very passionate about it. I am, however, going to finish the session by just creating a chart. Now, to create a chart, you can press what we call F11 on the keyboard. Now, when you press F11, what it's going to do, it's going to chart that on a separate sheet. However, always name your sheets. Good practice. So where this one is the pivot table, I'll call that summary pivot. Okay, so that's named that sheet there. And then to do a chart of that, you simply can highlight it or be in it depending on the data. Sometimes you have to highlight, but it's actually F11. And when you press F11, when you're inside your pivot, it will analyze your data for you on a separate sheet, which is linked to the data. And I think that's absolutely fabulous. So that doesn't have to be a pivot. As long as you are in data, F11 will create a separate sheet. Name your sheet, good practice. And I named the sheet by double clicking on the sheet name and typing over the top. So if I go to my original data and I say, actually, we sold something completely random. So if I go for Maltesers, I don't even know how you spell it, but I'm going to go Maltesers. If I go to my summary pivot, you'll see no Maltesers on there. You right click on it and you refresh it. Got it on there now. And if I go to my chart, you should see Maltesers. So everything's linked, everything's dynamic. I'm passionate about Excel. I absolutely love it. And I hope that there was something there for you. There's some fantastic shortcuts. If you've got time, you want to go and look at our website. We are always doing tips and tricks. I'm always doing tips and tricks on LinkedIn. I hope you like some of those. There's some other ones that you can see on the screen, which are just fabulous as well. Control Q, if you've got time to have a look at that one. But there's many, many, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.